All right. Happy Testimony Tuesday, everybody. Angie Harper, and I'm really excited to be chatting with my colleague, one of my favorite colleagues, Dr. Brett Brimhall. And the reason I asked Dr. Brimhall to join me today in Testimony Tuesday really goes back to my 13-year-old son, Nick. Last week we're driving in the car and we're all doing online schooling, and he looked at me and goes, "Mom, I think I have ADD." And I said, "Well, what makes you think that, Nick?" And he said, "Mom, I just can't focus on school, on the computer, especially math." He's like, "As hard as I try, I can't focus." And so it started me thinking of Dr. Brett and a product that he is an expert on, called Axio. It's an energy drink. I like to call it a brain drink. So I've invited him on. Dr. Brett lives in the Phoenix, Arizona area with his wife, Holly, and their 4 children. And he's been a chiropractor for over 20 years. He's recently sold his practice, and he says he treats patients twice a day because he wants to now, right, Dr. Brett? So just tell us who you are and a little bit of your story, and fill people in on maybe some tips that you can give them to help their kids get through this challenging time. A lot of people across the nation are doing school online, and it's new and it's different. So any
Well,
tips?
I appreciate the opportunity, Andy. And it's nice to be in a place now where I can treat people because I want to. I always did, but like to be in a place where financially I do it because I truly just want to do it. And this morning I was sitting there thinking, as I'm making some calls, like, God, who needs us today? And it's interesting. The conversation I started with is there are people out there looking for a way to survive what's going on in their lives right now. And I love the story of your son. And because this is the culture that we live in. If you cannot focus or you can't concentrate for hours on end looking at a computer screen, you think you have something. Well, you don't have anything but humanism, okay? What you have is you have a human brain, right, that doesn't like to do one thing for a long, long, long time, no matter who you are. Like, it's just not something that the brain likes to do, right? So you can classify most anybody as ADD or ADHD when it comes to that. And so when it comes to what we hear, people think this is who I am, this is what I have. No, that's what you're experiencing. So it's different between a diagnosis. Now, there are people truly, based on the classification of attention deficit or hyperactivity, there are classifications, a group of symptoms put together to help us make a diagnosis to recommend a treatment plan. All right. So your son's feeling like, man, I am having a hard time staring at a computer screen for longer than 20 minutes. Well, guess what? We're going to keep this video to 10 minutes because we know most of us here, we don't listen past that. Okay. And so I'm excited to just talk a little bit because I literally was texting with somebody this morning that I went to lunch with, and I said, "Hey, how you doing? Right? How you doing? You're starting a new business right now." He said, "Man, the thing we talked about before about really getting into some habits of helping my mental health has been helpful, but I'm finding that, man, it's tough being at home. I feel like my posture is like this, and I feel like I'm having a hard time focusing very long and remotivating myself." And so it's perfect time to talk about this because our kids and our teachers and our parents and all of us are coming up with a process of trying to, how do I excel, not survive, how do I excel through the process that we're with? And there are going to be products you can use, there are going to be techniques you can use, there are going to be strategies you can use. And ultimately what it comes back to is you. You are responsible. Yes, we're in a funky world, we got some funky things going on, we got all sorts of information around us. You got to decide, okay, what makes sense and what's going to work for me and apply it. And so one of the products that what got me involved in this company, how you and I met, was through the company LifeVantage, because I was working with a young man, and he was struggling with behavior and learning. He's doing 35 hours of therapy a week with occupational therapists just to work on his behavior, to work on his focus, to work on his school. And his mom was doing everything she could for him. And I have taught and trained physicians all over the world, and my job was to be the expert in that arena to how do I help this little boy or any person I'm working with to just become the very best version of themselves, to be able to excel in this world they live in. And when his mom started him on the Axio specifically, I saw this little boy unfold in front of my eyes, from being someone I had to chase around the room to sit still, to somebody that was recalling letters and numbers and became a pure model as for behavior, right? that's what happened because his brain shifted. A switch flipped inside of him. And I've seen it in different ways, but never so drastic with somebody I worked so hard with, doing everything I'd already been doing before. Like this little boy was doing everything. I mean, seeing me an hour a week and doing a lot of other things. And when I met the scientist,
tell us what is in Axio that might have affected his brain that way?
Good question. So when I went back and I met the scientist, I actually flew from Arizona to South Dakota to meet the scientist. To really just kind of wrap my head around what I'd seen, because it just didn't make sense. Like I'd seen it, right? I saw it, like, oh, okay, this doesn't make sense. And he said something that brought it all together. He said, people are tired because they're mentally tired. Not so much because they're physically tired. There's physical fatigue, and you need to address that correctly with the right tools and techniques and products, but there's also a big part of mental fatigue. So what your son Nick was feeling was mental fatigue. Some people feel in the form of I can't focus. Some people feel in the form of I can't make another decision. Some people feel in the form of I just want to withdraw from people, right? Or I want to go act out, right? So that's mental fatigue. So the way Axio works, it was designed to address mental fatigue. So you look at what's in it, like L-theanine that's in it. L-theanine is designed as a brain calming agent. It works really well to calm brain. Whereas DMAE had a focus effect on brain, right? Quercetin is a phenomenal antioxidant for brain. So when I looked at all of them together, I'm like, okay, it's unique. Why did they put it all together that way? Because really one's kind of a push, one kind of a pull effect. But when you combine it, what it did, it addressed mental fatigue. So it was really designed as an energy drink for athletes. Like that was the thought process, is how do we utilize this product to improve people's ability to go longer, right? So that's the idea of specifically athletes, is they're like that stamina or that sustain. And most people fatigue mentally before they fatigue physically in athletics too, because the brain gives up. Once the brain gives up, the body stops.
Right.
Right.
So and energy actually starts in the brain before your body ever even feels it.
Yeah, you see this all the time. You take a child or a human, right, whoever it is, and I'm so tired, I'm so bored, right? And like, let's go to Disneyland. Like, oh, I got all the energy in the world, right? So purpose drives energy, because purpose excites the brain, and then the brain excites the body. Now there is body fatigue, real body fatigue. That also there's different things there, but what we're talking about specifically, a lot of people have mental fatigue because they don't have purpose, they don't have passion. And they also don't understand that they're looking for a solution in a place they can't find it. For instance, we know people when they're mentally tired, right, or overwhelmed, they're like, there's that time of day, they got to go hit Dutch Bros, or they got to go hit like Starbucks, or they got to go hit like a soda shop, or whatever it might be, right? Whatever it is to get that fix.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a fix thinking, I'm going to go do something that's healthy for me. Like we know that.
You just mentioned one of my pet peeves, though, especially because I have teenagers and I see so many of their friends with these big old Dutch Brothers, because that's new out here where I live, and the line is always around the building. And, luckily my kids do not want any part of it. My son calls it diabetes in a cup. and so, and I'm glad for that, regardless of the money they're spending, but it's just not good for you. And you have that sugar and that crash from it. In Axio, I have a jar of it right here. This is green grape with fresh lemon. Tell us about the caffeine content, and do you get any jitters from drinking it? And why is it okay for kids to drink it?
Yeah, so what I'm going to tell you is right now, people always ask them, was this safe or that safe, right? And we ask that of a medication. We even ask this of nutritional supplementation, but we don't always ask it about our food, all right? So I always tell people, like, I had a guy ask me one time, like, well, is this Axio stuff safe for my kids? Meanwhile, he's giving his daughter that's 3 Diet Coke, right? And so I straight up, I says, well, I don't know. And then he studies on Diet Coke and 3-year-olds. And it's not, I was not trying to be mean. I was just trying to call attention that we need to pay attention, right? Because people want caffeine, they want coffee, they want these things, sugar, not because it's good for us, because it affects our brain. It affects our brain. It makes us feel better temporarily, but it's temporary. It's short-lived. Right. So caffeine had a phenomenal effect on mental acuity. That's why we use it so much, right? And that's why you're seeing the energy drink market go skyrocket, and they go higher and higher levels of caffeine, right? Because it does have an effect, a real effect. It's what you put with it.
Right.
So when you put other things with it, it can either have a sustained effect or an up, down, drop effect, right?
Yep.
And so that's when I looked at it originally, I said, well, you've got L-theanine, which really calms the brain. Like I'll use that for people for sleep all the time, right? Or to calm down like somebody that's super nervous, right? But I wouldn't normally put that with caffeine, but when you put caffeine in something, the delivery is fast and it helps with alertness. And then you deliver that theanine and DMAE and quercetin and pine bark.
So it all works together.
And it works together. And that's the way in which this was made. And so the way Life Vantage makes products is unique in of itself, because a lot of these are born out of laboratories where they're looking at, hey, if I combine these things, what type of switches does that have in the brain? Well, what type of switch does that affect in the cell? And that's the difference, right? So same with the kids. Like, I want to help my kid learn. I don't want to give them the answers. And the way society, we are taught and trained, we're taught to give the correct answer, not taught how to think. So the cell knows what it needs to do. It doesn't need to be told. It just needs what it needs to have that switch turned on so they can make it. So you need good supplementation, good foods, good products, that they have the raw ingredients there. But somebody got to turn that switch on to make the assembly line work. Yep. Right? And so Axio, when it was designed, it was not designed to be an energy drink. It was designed to, how do I address mental fatigue? So when you ask that question, you start looking at different nutrients and combine it until you get an alertness with a sustained effect without a crash. That's why it works in anybody that's got mental fatigue. That's why it has a positive effect, because when your brain is learning efficiently, it will learn more and better and recall better.
I love it. And so I know so many people that have gotten off of energy drinks. Some even stop drinking coffee in the morning and they drink Axio. There are 3 caffeinated flavors: sour cherry, dragon fruit, and green grape. So if anybody out there would like a sample, it's really easy to sample out. That's another thing we should mention, is it's $2 a drink. Like $2, not even $2.
It's less, like it's $1.65.
$1.66, I think is what it is, something like that, a drink, versus $5 that people are paying for these other drinks that give you a crash. Anyway, so I like to keep my Testimony Tuesdays around 10 minutes, and I think we're just about there, even though I could ask you so many more questions. I know you're a busy guy. I know you have people coming at you all the time with questions. So I really appreciate you carving out some time for us today and just shedding some light on Axio and helping kids get through this time, and parents for that matter, and teachers, So thank you so much. Any last words, Dr. Brett?
Yeah, here's your summary, guys. The effects of what you do is cumulative, right? So when you're using this type of thing, cumulative, you will learn better, you'll learn quicker, you'll retain longer. Right, and one of the questions you asked me earlier, just brief, is that when your son Nick or anybody else is there in that process of struggle to stay focused, this is a help, but also get up and move. Like, it doesn't take, do 10 push-ups, do 10 jumping jacks, right? Just do some quick breathing exercises. Just reset once an hour on the clock. Set your timer once an hour. Get up, move. Get up and move. Yeah. If you do that with this kind of thing.
My older son, he drinks this every single morning. Nick, not so much. I need to get him to start doing it. But Ryan drinks it every morning. And in between every single class, he goes out to the park and he runs laps.
Yep.
So I'm like, I don't know. Is there a correlation?
There's an absolute correlation, right? And that's the big thing is, when you're sitting there thinking in the front of the computer, your brain's using tons of fuel, but your body's getting tired. So get from it. Yeah, Andy, thanks for the opportunity to share this, and hopefully it will help some people. But you guys have a fantastic one, all right?
Thank you so much, Brett. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.